Hey folks, it's Rob and welcome back. We're continuing our series today on the Beck Me Expert set, the blue box. Um, Previously we finished finally magic user spells and thieves. And now we have our remaining classes, which, you can see we're cramming 3 in here plus an equipment list. Yeah, not that much to say about these guys. Dwarf. Dwarves are only able to attain 12th level at most. However, this is balanced by the dwarf's special abilities such as infravision, detection abilities, and better saving throws. 12th level dwarves are formidable fighters. A dwarf may set a spear against charge attacks and, when mounted, may charge with a lance as described under Fighter, page 10. When a dwarf reaches name level, he may build a stronghold. It must be an underground cavern complex located in either mountains or hills. The character may hire only dwarven mercenaries, but specialists and retainers of other races may be hired. Dwarven families are organized in clans. See page 22 for more information on clans. We have our dwarf saving throws, which you can see start out pretty reasonable, even just for level 1 to 3, and again, progress by 2 points per grouping. So at level 4, your death ray or poison is 6 or better. At level 7, it doesn't take long to get to level 7, in this case, 4. And then at level 10, just a 2. Basically, it's almost impossible it's not impossible. It's a 5% chance you're going to fail a death ray or poison saving throw. And, the rest of the saving throws aren't bad either. They're worst off on, rod, staff, spell, but, it's not bad. Certainly better than the elves saving throws in general, which we'll get to. But as we can see, we have our names. And unfortunately, this isn't terribly creative for the names, because really, it's just dwarven, whatever the fighter would have been. And, that's a veteran, dwarven veteran instead of warrior, dwarven warrior, right? It's fine. A lot of people don't use this stuff anyway, but yeah, I'm more in a moment of thought could have helped with this. Now, at 9th level is the last time they roll hit dice. They roll a d8 per level. It's plus 3 hit points per level afterwards for that remaining 3 levels, because that's all they get. Constitution bonuses adjustments do not apply for those final 3 levels either. Elf. An elf may only advance to 10th level. However, this is balanced by the elf's special abilities, especially in combination of fighting and spell casting, which I gotta say is quite true. This combination makes an elf far more powerful than a human of the same level. Elves only hire elves as mercenaries, although specialists and retainers of any race may be employed. An elf may set a spear against a charge attacks and, when mounted, may charge with a lance, as described under the Fighter, page 10. When name, 9th level, has been reached, an elf may build a special kind of stronghold deep in the forest. This stronghold must pleasingly blend in with the surroundings, usually a natural site of great beauty. Typical locations are the tops of great trees, on the edges of quiet vales, or behind rushing waterfalls. Because of the effort to beautify the work, the structure costs as much as similar work if made of stone. When a stronghold is completed, the character will develop a friendship with the animals of the forest, birds, rabbits, squirrels, foxes, bears, etc. All normal animals within 5 miles of the stronghold will be friendly towards the elves dwelling there. Animals will be able to warn of approaching strangers, carry news of events, deliver short messages to nearby places, etc. In return of these services, animals will expect help and protection from the elves. Elven families live in clans. See page 22 for more information on clans. And the elf titles, well, we'll get, you can see the elf saving throws. We talked briefly about these. They start out higher than dwarves. They finish higher than dwarves. they progress in a similar fashion: 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, and 10, dropping 2 points at a tick. But they just start higher and finish higher. The elf experience table is described, of course, and the thing about elves is it takes a lot of XP to get to the next level. So it's 4,000 XP to get level 2, 8,000 to get to level 3, 16,000 to get to level 4, and 32 for level 5. It really does take you quite a while to level an elf. And the titles are, again, a little disappointing because they are functionally just the fighter titles combined with, the magic user titles. So it's veteran, medium, warrior, seer, swordmaster, conjurer, hero, magician, swashbuckler, enchanter, myrmidon, warlock, champion, sorcerer, superhero, necromancer, and then just simply Lord Wizard. And then 10th level Lord Wizard. Which is, we finally break that doubling cost. Unfortunately, at level 7, instead of 64, instead of it being 128, it's 120. But then it's 250,000 for level 8, 400,000 for level 9, and 600,000 for the 10th level, your final level. You never get 6th level spells as an elf. You top out with just 2 5th level spells. Obviously, that last 10th level is just 2 plus 2 hit points and no constitution adjustment. So you just stop rolling at that point. Obviously, that's the only level that's left. So really, even though it says plus 2 hit points, it just says plus 2 hit points at 10th level. It doesn't even say per level, right? Moving to the next page, Halfling, which gets the shortest shrift here, unfortunately. Halflings may only advance to 8th level. This is balanced by their special abilities in woodlands, better saving throws, and combat bonuses. In combat, a halfling may set a spear. We get the same set spear instructions as we've seen in the other characters. And so basically there's 4 classes that can set spears and use lances, right? A halfling may build a stronghold whenever the expense can be withstood, under page 27. Regardless of the level of the character, the stronghold will attract a whole community of other halflings if constructed in a place suited to their preferences. Halflings prefer to live in pleasant areas of fair countryside near rolling hills and gentle streams. When not working or adventuring, halflings will spend most of their time eating, drinking, talking with friends, and relaxing. Their communities are called shires, and their recognized spokesman is called a sheriff. Halfling families live in clans. See page 22 for more information on the clans. Again, halflings do get some pretty kick-ass saving throws, but because they stop at level 8, they never get as good as the dwarf saving throws. So you start out basically with dwarf saving throws, but you just don't progress that last point, right? You start out with an 8 on poison, then you get a 6, then a 4, but you never get that last tick from 10th level. And again, the titles are, well, at least at level 8 you get sheriff, right? At level 8, the halfling is just simply sheriff, as opposed to superhero. You get halfling veteran, halfling warrior, halfling swordmaster, halfling hero, halfling swashbuckler, halfling myrmidon, halfling champion, and then sheriff. And sheriff is 120,000 XP. To compare that with the other characters, for example, 120,000 XP is a champion sorcerer elf, or you are still a dwarven champion because you haven't hit 140,000 XP for the 8th level of being a dwarf. So we have a line here, a line break, because we just are now going to start talking about equipment and stop talking about characters. It does say weapons and equipment at the top of the page, but we just, used the top third for talking about halflings. This section includes lists of equipment and weapons that may be purchased in town. Average prices and encumbrance are listed with each item. At the DM's discretion, the price of an item may vary from town to town depending on how available the item is. Following the list are explanations of how most items are used, which can be quite helpful back in a day before the internet. But also, like, you may just be a 10-year-old kid who cracked open a book and wanted to read about this, right? So, our weapons list, it's, still the weapons list, basically. You got axes, two-handed, and a hand axe. Bows. I'm not going to read this entire just chart, right? It's just a list. You can look around here on screen. But interesting, we've included barding armor for horses down here on the armor chart, in addition to the chainmail, leather, plate mail, and shield, right? In the normal equipment, you have your normal equipment: sacks, water skins, tinder boxes, stakes, sacks, rations, poles, all that fun stuff. Recently, a discussion came up as to why 10-foot poles should even exist, and it's because of the traps that Gary Gygax used to use on his parties. People would routinely use 10-foot poles to set off traps and investigate things. Is it a impractically long object? Possibly. So are, pole arms. We include in this chart now land transport, which I will read. Item: camel. Cost in gold pieces 100. Has a capacity of 3,000 or 6,000. And then we have some marks. The D figures are maximum capacity for normal movement and capacity for half normal movement. So, certain amount of weight is involved. Cart with 2 wheels. The game I play in, we have a cart with 2 wheels, actually. Costs 100 gold pieces. Has a capacity of 4,000 gold coin or 8,000 at maximum capacity. I'm going to need to keep that in mind next time we play. We just found a payroll for an army, which included a lot of low-value coinage I may have to leave behind. Horses. Yeah, you may want to buy a horse. Draft horse, a common kind of hauls things horse. 40 gold pieces, 4,500 capacity, or 9,000. But functionally, it's going to be double for a half movement, unless I say otherwise. Okay. Riding horse. Riding horses have faster movement. You're meant to ride the horse. Probably higher maintenance, too. 75 gold pieces to buy that horse. 3,000 capacity for standard movement. 6,000 for half movement. War horse. Pretty desirable. Historically, very expensive. A lot of maintenance and training. Cost 250 gold pieces in this fantasy environment. 4,000 gold capacity for carrying, which I should point out should include armor, which the barding listed here for horses is 600 coin encumbrance at 150 gold pieces for the barding. So that means your armored war horse is 400 gold pieces. Just at front value. Mule. We actually have 2 mules in the game I play in. They cost 30 gold pieces each. They have a capacity of 3,000 each, which is actually not much less than the cart. Saddle and bridle. That costs 25 gold pieces. You're going to need that if you're going to be riding. It's 200 coin encumbrance. There are some notes here I haven't actually read, which maybe I should. Under the cart, capacity varies with number of horses. Cart equals 1 or 2 horses. Wagon, 2 or 4 mules may be used. 2 mules equals 1 horse, which is what we do with our cart. Under the saddles and bridle, that's a note F. Encumbrance is for empty item. Add for the items carried to the capacities given. Total for the saddle plus saddlebags is 400 coin encumbrance, 1,000 coin capacity. And then, got the wagon 4 wheels, which has the same wagon note. Costs 200 gold pieces. can carry 15,000 or 25,000 at half movement. And we have water transport, which is also interesting. You can buy a riverboat. It costs 4,000 gold, but you can have a riverboat, has a capacity of 40,000 coin. Sailing boat, 2,000 cost. Capacity is 20 to 40,000. A canoe, just will cost you 50, right? Capacity 6,000 gold. It has a note. Encumbrance is 1,000 coin if carried by one person, 300 for each for two persons, right? Obviously, it's an awkward, large object to carry, not so easy to carry by yourself. Galleys. Galleys are kind of road ships, popular in the Mediterranean because in ancient times, or even fairly into the Enlightenment. Large galley costs 30,000 gold, has capacity of 60,000. Small, 10,000 gold, 40,000. And a war galley, 60,000, with a capacity of 80,000. Schiff's light boat costs 1,000 gold, capacity 15,000. Long ship, Viking long ship, 15,000 gold, capacity 30,000. A raft, just a simple raft, like you might go down the Mississippi on with Huck Finn. 1 gold piece per square foot if you were to buy one. Capacity 100 coin per square foot, apparently. There's note H. Capacity figures are for purchase versus made by characters. So if it's made by the characters, half that, 50 coin per square foot. Sailing ships, despite we having a sailing boat earlier, these are ships, so they're much larger. A large sailing ship costs 20,000 gold and has a 300,000 coin capacity. And a small sailing ship, it costs 5,000 coin, has a 100,000 coin capacity. And then finally, a troop transport, 40,000 gold to buy and a 600,000 coin capacity. See page 45 for details on water transport details and adventures. Now we move into a new section. Well, it's still basically there will be a new section, but this bit here, the top half of the page, is descriptions of equipment detailed on the previous page. So, adventuring, backpack. You shouldn't really have to explain to a modern person what a backpack is, but we have a backpack. Used to carry equipment on the back. Soldier straps leave characters hands free for other actions. Advised for any adventurer, really. Barding. Armor for horses, made of leather and metal plates, giving an armor class of 5 for the horse. Cart. Pulled by 1 to 2 draft horses or by mules. 2 mules will be equivalent of a horse. Movement rate of 60 feet per turn. Capacity 4,000 coin with a single horse, 8,000 with 2. Cannot travel through desert, forest, mountain, or swamp except by road. Well, as a cart. Catapult, light. This is a siege engine, a large slingshot-like device that throws burning pitch or rocks. For land travel, it is mounted on a small wheeled wagon and is towed by horses or mules. Cuts the normal movement rate of the wagon based on terrain by half. 1,000 coin encumbrance value is divided amongst those towing it. When used on ships, the same encumbrance value is used, but the item is mounted directly on the vessel. Grappling hooks. A large 3 or 4 prong hook made of specially hardened iron used to anchor a rope. Obviously, very useful, especially if you don't have a thief in the party. You need to be able to get up that wall sometimes. But even if you have a thief in the party, they can, hook that hook up there on the top and lower the rope down for the rest of the party, right? Hammer, small, needed for pounding iron spikes into the wall or floor. Holy symbol, a sign or symbol of a cleric's beliefs used in turning the undead. You need one of those if you're going to be operating a cleric. It's not useful otherwise. Holy water, water made holy by a high-level cleric, NPC. It will cause damage to undead monsters. It is actually useful in that regard. Can also, I used it just in role playing circumstances of purifying things. Like there might be remains in a sepulcher, right? Um, Iron spikes used to wedge doors open or shut, or to anchor a rope. A python, basically. Lantern casts light in a 30-foot radius, burning 1 flask of oil for every 4 hours, 24 turns. May be shuttered against the wind. Mirror, used to look around corners safely or to defend against gaze attack. When a character uses a mirror to watch an opponent, a -2 penalty to hit roll applies, and a character cannot use a shield. The area must be lit for the mirror to be effective. Yeah, you need to be able to see, right? Oil flask, burned in a lantern for light. It may also be thrown as a missile weapon or poured out and ignited to delay pursuit. Boy, howdy, is there just like this current trope of just like being an arsonist and being a halfling that I have to say I am also guilty of. Because I have certainly, in multiple adventures now, used fire as a means of distraction and destruction. But what are you supposed to do when you encounter a spider nest? Or a goblin camp full of supplies? Let it sit there? Unburnt? Pole, wooden, 10-foot long, and a 2-inch thick pole useful for poking piles of rags, pools, etc. You stick that in, you're like, is that, you test the pool, and like, oh, that is actually an ooze. Better to find out with the 10-foot pole than with your fingers, right? Rations, iron. Preserve food for 1 person for 1 week. It lasts, right? Rations, standard. Unpreserved food for 1 person for 1 week, sometimes thrown to monsters to delay pursuit, which you can do. I also like to toss small sacks of coins as a means of distracting intelligent monsters. Rope, 50-foot length, the ever popular 50-foot rope. A heavy climbing rope that can support 3 fully loaded humans. Sack, large, a burlap, leather, or cloth bag, usually 2 foot by 4 foot. Sack, small, similar to the large sack, 1 foot by 2 foot. Saddle, leather and wooden saddle with metal fastenings assumed to include blanket, bridle, and bit and stirrups. So, they use stirrups. Saddlebag, long leather, 2-pocket sack, lays across the mount behind the saddle. Stakes and mallet, 3 large 18-inch wood stakes plus a wooden mallet useful for destroying vampires. Very specific. Thieves' tools, required for picking locks. Your thief will need that, even though they're not going to be terribly good at doing that. Tinderbox, flint, steel, and tinder wood shavings needed to start fires, torches, lanterns, etc. To use, roll 1d6, succeeds on a result of 1 to 2. May be tried once per round. So you just keep striking and trying to keep making it happen, and then you gotta blow on the sparks and all that fun stuff. It's really fun trying to start a fire without matches, I say as a scout. Torch, cast light in a 30-foot radius, burns for 1 hour, 6 turns. Wagon, pulled by 2 or 4 draft horses or mules. 2 mules equal 1 horse conversion. Movement rate 60 feet per turn. Capacity 15,000 coin with 2 horses or 25,000 with 4. Cannot travel through desert, forest, mountain, or swamp except by road. We got to be specific. Water skin, wineskin, leather, or preserved animal bladder. Capacity 1 quart. Encumbrance is when filled. 5 coin otherwise. Wolfsbane and herb, dried and used to drive off lycanthropes. Garlic, if you're wanting to get it, and you may very well want to get some garlic. And I don't believe that is actually specified on the equipment list. No, it is. There it is. Garlic, you would use that on the vampires, of course. Right? Now we have a whole other section here on adventuring, which I think is going to be much more interesting than this equipment list we've been talking about. But, in this equipment section, there's a couple, you have to wonder why that was there, right? And think about what adventurers and players were doing with this equipment. They're certainly giving you some indications. Think about why that is. I think it's an interesting document from the past, but in some ways, this little section. But that's going to be it for now, since we're at that's like kind of natural pause, right? We'll come back next time to do this adventuring section. Thank you ever so much for your time today, and I hope you enjoyed these videos. If you do, a like is very welcome. And if you want to be notified when the next video is going to come along, hit that subscribe button. Like you don't know already know. I don't know. I don't usually do this kind of thing. Sometimes it strikes me. But your feedback is appreciated. If you have anything to say, please say it below. Have a great day. Goodbye.